And we're back. It is freezing cold in my garage tonight. Absolutely freezing. So I've been sitting inside the house with the heater on and needed to psych myself up to come out here into the cold. But we went to the shops. We got one of these. I'll open it up and show you a bit closer, but essentially it's a good thing nowadays what they do is they sell a patch harness that'll plug straight into the factory plug. I don't have that option because mine was cut up and hacked up previously, so I don't actually have the factory plug. Otherwise it's just plug it into a radio harness that goes to this harness. So whether you get a Kenwood or a Sony or whatever it is, I don't have that option, so we're gonna have to lop those plugs off and try and wire them in. But I'll show you how to do that, and I'll give you little tips and tricks that I've sort of learnt, and I'll sort of explain it a little more, be a little more, I guess, what would you call it, informational, instructional. Yeah, we'll go with that. Just to help you learn, I guess, if you've never done much wiring, or this is something you have to do if you're wanting to do it. Just to give you a bit of an idea, maybe just, yeah, go step by step. Cool, so this is the harness we've got. It's just the older Nissan stuff, older Nissan plug. I'll just pop it open. Stretch it out, cool. So, move that out of the way. That is the plug. So these two here, the black and the red, are what go into essentially a black and a red female end will go over these two male ends, and then it'll go to a radio connector, whether it's a Kenwood or a Sony, like I said before. Now these two plugs here are what should have plugged into my factory harness. Now, because we don't have the luxury of the factory harness, I'm gonna have to cut these off about here, and I'll show you how to at least do some sort of wiring, so we can, it's a bit dark in here, I'll get a light, but sort of splice it in and wire it properly so it's not just more efficiently than taping and twisting. This will actually involve solder and heat shrink, etc. So I don't know if it's quote unquote the correct way to do it, but it's extremely strong. It's soldered together, they're twisted up, soldered through the bottom. I'll show you how to do all that in a second, and then sealed with a bit of heat shrink. So I've done all the wiring like that and it seems to work. So and they're strong. I can essentially yank on both ends and they're not going to come apart. So first things first, I'll cut the plugs off this, and I'll strip the wires back and go from there. So I guess this little tool here, if you don't have one of these, a pair of it's going to focus, a pair of pliers is going to do just as well. This just speeds it up because I've done so much wiring in this car. It was a well worth investment. So this essentially what it does is I can use, you know, this part here for crimps. This is essentially a wire cutter in here as well. I guess that side. This here is a wire stripper if it wants to focus. So I can essentially put the wire in, pull that, and it's going to unsheath a length of plastic off the end. So I'll show you that now. What we can do, I'll start with this one just because it's probably a little easier. Just hack all of this off as close to the end as possible. Cool. Do away with that. So we're left with, I don't have a factory amp so that can go out of there. So we're left with a bunch of wire like that if it ever wants to focus. And you need to strip it back. So like I said, you can use, you know, whether it's a razor blade just to take this plastic coating off. This is essentially just insulation to stop the wires from touching each other and arcing out. So you can get either a razor blade and just go around and unsheath it. A pair of pliers, just sort of half pull them in, rotate the pliers around and you can unsheath it. Or invest in one of these. And essentially what you do is you put the wire in and done. It's unsheathed. So I'll just go ahead and do all these, and then yeah, we'll work on, as you can see, it just makes absolute light work of anything we need to do with the wires. Nice and easy. I'll quickly go ahead and do the other end of these. Like that. Just knock them off there, and then jump in the car and yeah, figure out what needs to go where, essentially. I don't know if someone's doing loops with the roundabout. Anyways, so I got these all stripped back. Took about 2 seconds with that sweet little tool. And what you want to do is, once you've actually stripped them back, just twist the ends of the wire so they don't fray. Keeps them all sort of neat, easy. So essentially, straight off the bat, this one here, once I can separate these well enough, these are more or less speaker wires. So this will be front, back, left and right, positive and negative for each. So 4 speakers. Quite easy. And then this one here is, you know, earth, power, 12 volt power, little bits of others, like if you've got an amplifier and I guess something else, I can't quite remember. But all you really need to know is switch, 12 volt power, 12 volt constant, earth. That's more or less it. I won't have an amplifier in my car, it's just speakers. So I'll more or less just need these. The other ones are quite redundant, but I'll figure out where they go anyway and see if I've got them in the car. So what I'll do is I'll flip it around. I'll keep these just for reference, keep a hold of these plugs just in case you get lost. So what you can sometimes do is, because this is the factory Nissan plug, you get your pins there, you get your pinouts there, you can sort of cross-reference if you found a photo of, you know, the Nissan plug where it's like, alright, what's that top right one? Alright, it's the modern wire is red, which is 12 volt constant power normally, and then you can find out what the, you know, the other end of this is on the plug for a Nissan wiring diagram, and find out, alright, well, say for example it's brown, you know, so these are handy just to keep a hold of. Don't throw them away, don't get too gung-ho just yet, just in case. So now that we've got all these pretty much spruced up, we'll jump into the car. I need to get some light in here before I do anything else, and just strip these back and twist them and just get them all prepped. They're pretty much banked into speakers at the moment with the, you know, power, etc. So, alright, cool. So, really quickly, stripped all of them back. If it's going to focus in, focus. Stripped all of them back, twisted the wires. They're still sort of twisted into their little separate bundles for speakers, power, all that sort of jazz. I just sort of lopped them off so they're all the same length, because when you've got a harness and you want to join the harness on and one's shorter or one's longer than the other, it goes all funny. It's just a lot easier to use when it's like that. Now, before you do anything else, because we're going to be putting heat shrink on these, don't forget to put the heat shrink on, because you don't want to use tape. It's the whole reason we're doing this. Put the heat shrink on now. After you've cut everything, slide the heat shrink onto each individual wire, because then you're not going to forget. Slide it back far enough so when you're heating up the wire with your soldering iron, it's not going to set the heat shrink off. So slide them all the way down. Do it now. It's a pain in the butt when you've got to cut it and resolder it, and then it ends up shorter, like I was saying with the wires. Or you have to tape it, which is the whole idea we're doing it with heat shrink, is to avoid that, to get a pretty much a secure, fully enclosed seal, or connection I should say. So we'll go and yeah, cut these up. If this stuff's cheap, these kits are pretty neat. I'm sure you find it at any hardware store or automotive store. I'm just going to use black for the earth and red for everything else, so it doesn't really matter honestly, because they're all power and earth, so you could do it with whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. These are good, 3.5, 4.5, etc, etc. Just, yeah, line them up, slide them on over each wire and slide them right down to the base, just so when you ideally use a heat gun to pretty much when you're soldering, you're not going to set the heat shrink off and it gets stuck down the, wherever it is, and then you've got to cut it or tape whatever. Yeah. I'm rambling. So we'll just slide all the heat shrink on now so we don't miss it. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. Do that now. Cool. Alright, so I've gone through, I'll get that out of the way, all the, I don't know if you can see that, all the heat shrink onto the base of the cables here. See if I can get it to focus. I hope there's some focus. Anyways, so I put all the heat shrink on, obviously slid it down the bottom. I've got all the wires exposed. So basically, this little bundle here that I've basically, I don't know if you can really see that. That little bundle there, this one here at the tip of my finger, is essentially just factory radio antenna, which I don't have anymore, and illumination, which I've got rid of, which that's an experiment. If I change my mind, I can, I've done it on this one too, on the aftermarket one. So blue was factory antenna, which I've gotten rid of, and I've just blanked out the illumination for now. So if I change my mind, it's just as simple as stripping it back, connecting them, and go. We'll see how I like it without illumination. Black is just going to get a fitting, and I'll worry about that last. That'll basically get grounded to the chassis. There isn't a ground wire in this harness for my car. Red is 12 volt switch power, so when I turn the ignition, it'll actually turn on. And the yellow is 12 volt constant power. So you've got switched 12 volt power, which will tell it to turn on and off. If you didn't have the red wire and you just had the yellow wire, the radio would just stay on forever, even with the keys out of the car. So you need to basically have that switch wire to tell the radio to turn on and off with your keys in the ignition. Because yeah, you'll end up with a few flat batteries if you forget to put that one in. Cool, I'm going to grab my solder, set everything up. I'm going to zoom the camera in a bit, and we'll go through and just start connecting, 12 volt to 12 volt. I believe the blue might be the main power, the red might be the switched on the car, and the rest are all just speakers on this end anyway. So that's reasonably easy. Actually, sorry, I think the black with the red stripe is the one that I need for 12 volt switched. I'll go through and read everything again. Anyways, I'll zoom in the camera, I'll set everything up, I'll show you as best I can how, I guess, in my opinion, the best way to connect these wires, because these are quite old wires. Something that's going to give you a decent hold, good connections, not going to rattle apart and fall out while you're driving. So, yeah, try and show you as best I can anyway. I'll just grab my soldering iron and then we'll kick off. So just my luck, I went to go get my soldering iron and it's something else that's missing. I have my wire, my core wire, flux core wire, whatever you want to call it. I have everything in the electrical box except for the soldering iron. So gonna have to do a bit of movie magic and skip to tomorrow night most likely. I've got some stuff on during the day and then I'm going to shoot some videos for a friend of mine just to help with his business and whatnot. So I guess next time, yeah, I'll cut back tomorrow, and it just means the video is going to get pushed out a bit longer. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. Come back tomorrow with a soldering iron and yeah, get all this kitted up. So bit of movie magic. Next time I come back and see you, it'll be the next day with a soldering iron. Cool. Voila, back. So it's the next night, and I managed to get myself a soldering iron. Went down to the shops today and grabbed that. And I actually snagged a bunch of goodies as well. So that's the soldering iron. It was actually a pain in the butt to find. I think a lot of automotive shops have stopped selling them, so I had to go to a J car or an electrical shop. Just some general car care stuff, which I'll move out of the way because what's underneath is what I'm pretty excited about. Finally got myself a decent jack. So this is a super low pro king chrome jack, which is mint. Probably won't, well, you know, once I've got everything fitted up in the car, probably won't have to take the bars off to get it up anymore. And just some good jack stands, 4 jack stands. So we'll get started tonight. We'll knock this out. Just get all that dialed in, and then I guess for the rest of the week, can actually get the car off the ground and play with the wheels, take all the stuff out of the boot, whatnot, and yeah, do something a bit more exciting. I was running out of stuff to do without being able to get the car off the ground, so yeah, we'll square away all of this, just so the radios, you know, once I get one, can pretty much be plugged in and mounted up and be done, and then yeah, get to do a bit more exciting stuff. So I'll get the wire, or I guess my extension lead and everything set up. I'll set up all the soldering iron, and then yeah, I guess I'll set this up on a tripod and just sort of do a bit of a time lapse of the soldering process, and then I guess after I'll show you how to actually do it properly, I guess. So get set up now. Alright, cool. So I quickly just went through, I'll show you now. I'll do it out of the car because it's easier to film if this ever wants to focus. Just went through and connected them all up, soldered them, heat shrinked them, just like before I cut. One of these is the amplifier, one of them's illumination. I don't want illumination, so we'll try it, we'll see how it feels without it being lit up. And this is the earth. I'll quickly just basically got a bit of wire in there, and then I'm just going to earth it to the chassis, so I'll do that off camera, and then I'll sort of set the tripod up out there and try and show you how I've done it. I don't know if it's the best way. It's never failed on me, so it's better than twist and tape, that's all I can say. So I'll quickly go and throw in the earth, and then I'll show you, I guess, a bit more in depth on how to, I guess, twist the wires together, solder them, heat shrink them. Try not to use a lighter. I'm just lazy. You're better off using a heat gun. The lighter works just as well. Just try to avoid burning the heat shrink. It's pretty easy done with flames, but it does a trick. So if you don't have access to a heat gun, a lighter will work just fine, or a hairdryer, whatever works. So I'll go and slow this in, and then yeah, I'll show you guys how to do it properly. So I just made myself a quick little, that wants to focus in, a quick little earth. The red part connects onto the connector from the harness, and that one there I can just run a bolt through. So pretty easy, crimped, and then just heat shrinked it just to get rid of the yellow. Oh no, OCD like that. And essentially that, we'll plug onto that, and all of this is done. And if I ever want illumination down the track, I can just cut off the orange and cut out the ones out in there and connect them in. So that's done. I'll set the tripod up now, and I'll show you as best I can in depth on how to actually solder and get a good connection, so it's not going to get corrosion from the environment if it's left exposed, and Yeah, just so it actually holds. I think that's not a bad idea. Right, so try and do this as clearly as I can by myself without anyone filming. So just got some leftover wire from what was in the car from the last blokes to do it. So let's cut this in half. So you've got, you know, these two ends in your car. Like I talked about in the start of the video, you've got a stripper or you've got a, you know, a pair of pliers or a razor blade, and you just want to take the sheath off, get rid of it. Now this part, so you want to get these two wires and just sort of twist them so they're straight, or they hold their shape. Don't know if it's in focus and I apologise. And then you take them, you form like a bit of an X, like that. And you just sort of twist them together so they sort of snake over the top of each other. And they lay flat, like that, if that's going to focus. Cool. Now that you got your wires connected, sorry, before you do that, make sure you've got your heat shrink on, like I said. You're going to want to take the end of the solder and just place it underneath the wire so it's heating up the wire. You don't want to feed solder and drip it into the wire because it's not going to penetrate or get a good grip. Get some of your solder, where's the camera? Just a little bit like that. Really easy. Now this will probably take a few seconds just to heat the wire up. Pretty neat that I can do this out of the car now. And then now that it's sort of smoking, I just dabbed it on the end of the solder a bit. You know it's hot enough, just dab it on top of the wire and it'll start to melt into the wire. Feed a good amount in. Cool. Now see if I can show this on camera. Yeah, as you can see, I'll roll it over. It's the whole way around. So it's penetrated into the wire. You can pretty much pull on that and it's not going anywhere. And then what you do with your heat shrink, remembering that you put it on beforehand. You just get it, slide it over, like so. And then if I've got any gas left in my lighter, if it wants to focus again. There we go. And just, I've got no gas left in this, but just enough so where it grabs around both ends, so then you've got a good connection and it's insulated with the heat shrink. And it's not going anywhere. So it'll be a solid connection, you're not going to get any shorts, it's not going to pull itself apart while you're driving, it's not going to get corroded from the weather. That's how I've done pretty much all my wiring in this car. I don't know if it's the correct way, but it's definitely worked for me. Cool. So I'm just going to pack up all my wiring. And then, just to close out the video, I want to open this up and put this together. Because I'm just super excited about having a jack now. A proper jack. I've had jacks before, but nothing as cool as that one. Quickly pack this up and then, yeah, undo that. This is a pretty heavy duty jack. And it's super low profile. That is awesome. This thing is mint. It's the best jack I've ever had. We had to take this thing to the track and it fits under the body without needing to roll it under anything. Not going to do anything else tonight, I'm just going to call it there. I want to make a head start on the video I shot for my mate today, which is pretty cool. I'll see if I can get permission to post it to YouTube. And I guess we can get the car off the ground now, which is a big milestone. So yeah, pull the wheels off, try and refurb the wheels, just bolt check the car, pull the stuff out of the fuel, the boot, like the fuel cell, and sorry, not the fuel cell, the surge tank and everything like that. So I just tipped over my beer, my orange juice. But yeah, I'm pumped. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We'll just keep cracking along, and yeah, sooner or later it'll be done. So, all right, that's it for now. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Peace.